many of you have been told that it's not the right time to buy because interest rates are terrible? I hear these concerns from a lot of buyers. People are sitting on the fence because they're just hoping that interest rates are going to go back to what they were. So if you've been sitting on the fence, this is your video. So last year in 2025, the interest rates did ease up from what they were in 2023 when they went pretty high. So in 2023, we're seeing really serious spikes and the interest rates were just kind of all over the place. And in 2025, they leveled out. In 2025, mortgage rates did stay higher than buyers wanted them to, but we weren't seeing the serious spikes and the height of what they were in 2023. This last year, they've stayed right around 6, so just a little over 6, sometimes dipping below 6, but they stayed in that general range. And overall, anytime I'm referring to the rate, just consider it's like a 30-year fixed rate, because sometimes they can offer you an ARM or a 2-1 buy down, but in general, this is for a 30-year fixed. And a 30-year fixed mortgage is just a mortgage where your interest rate stays the same for the entire 30 years. The rates in 2025 were still quite a bit higher than they were during the pandemic when they dropped below 3%. But they're lower than the recent peaks that we had in 2023 and 2020. Locally here in Utah, rates stayed right in about the mid-6 range, with some lenders reporting 5.9 or 6.2, just depending on your credit profile. Right now, most 30-year fixed here in Utah are right in that 6% range. Typically somewhere from 6.0 to 6.2, depending on your credit and your loan type or new down payment. I know that's definitely higher than the 3% that we were back in 2020, but it's definitely lower than where we were in 2024. In early 2025s, we were like in the high 6s and even 7 range. So that put a lot of buyers into a position where they couldn't even afford half of the house they were looking at before. The big difference we're seeing right now is the stability. The rates are staying stable. Rates aren't jumping all over the place like they were before, and so that gives buyers a little bit of reassurance, some confidence and predictability in what's going to happen in the future. So what does 2026 look like? Most experts are expecting gradual improvements, not dramatic drops. So this means we may see rates slowly ease or stay pretty consistent with where they're at now. Potentially they could dip down as low as the low 5s or even the low 6s in 2026. Potentially dropping a little closer to the high 5s or staying in the low 6s, but still kind of staying in that same range if inflation continues to cool and the economy stays on track. What we're not expecting is a quick dive into the ultra lows that we were seeing before, but we are seeing the signs that the worst of the volatility is behind us. For Utah buyers specifically, this matters because our market is continuing to grow, and it's continuing to grow especially in Tooele County. For Utah buyers specifically, this matters because our market is still strong, especially in growing areas like Tooele County. Many buyers are realizing that they don't have to wait for the perfect interest rates to make that move. Instead, they're choosing to buy now while interest rates are more stable, knowing that they can refinance later if interest rates drop. They're also able to take advantage of the home availability that's here now that wasn't available when the rates were crazy. When the rates were going crazy, buyers were having to pay more than they expected for a home. There was multiple offers on every home. You had to get to a home like the minute that it was on the market. And now there's a lot more homes on the market. There's a lot more to choose from. But even with these opportunities, it's normal for buyers to have concerns. So let's talk about some of the most common concerns that a buyer might have. So fear number one would be, what if rates drop right after I buy? This is probably the number one fear that I hear from buyers. Interest rates can always change, but the good news is you're not locked in forever. Many buyers plan to refinance when the rates come down. That's just been what everyone has done for however long. The minute you see rates go down enough that it makes sense that you'll save money over the long run, then people refinance. What does matter long term is the price that you pay in the home you secure, not necessarily timing the market perfectly. You can refinance a rate, but you can't rewind the purchase price. Number two, my payment feels high compared to a few years ago. This fear is real, especially because interest rates a few years ago were 3%, and that's pretty low. Today's interest rates are more historically normal. The big difference now is the opportunities that buyers have. There's more inventory, there's fewer bidding wars, there's much more room to negotiate. Right now, sellers are giving concessions, which You know, back when interest rates were low, I mean, sellers didn't even have to do any repairs and they could get their house sold and sold for more than list price. Sellers, and especially new builds, are offering incentives like rate buy downs, closing costs. Even sometimes we see some of the new constructions, they'll throw in the washer and dryer or the refrigerator. They're doing all of these different things to get their homes sold, which you weren't seeing those type of incentives during the peak market. Fear number 3 is, what if prices fall after I buy? People worry that they're buying at the wrong time. Utah's market is still supported by population growth, jobs, and a housing demand. We still have more people without homes than we need homes for, if that makes sense. So we still are short housing for how many buyers are out there. Even if prices soften, real estate's a long-term investment, so you'll usually be able to make that up long-term. Now, if you're just buying now and you need to sell next year and they soften a little bit, that might hurt you. But if you're in it for the long haul, or even for the next 5 or so years, it may soften, but it'll dip back up. Most buyers aren't planning to sell in 1 year. They're planning to buy a home, live in it for several years, build up some equity, and then sell. Fear number 4 is, I should just wait until rates are lower to buy. Waiting feels safer, but it often costs you more. When rates drop, buyer competition increases, and that can drive prices back up. That means you could end up paying more for the same home, even at the lower interest rate. Buying when competition is lower but rates are higher can actually be a smart strategy. Fear number 5, I don't want to be house poor. This is a healthy fear and everyone should listen to this. Buying smart means staying within a comfortable budget. Choose the right loan and focus on your monthly payment, not necessarily the interest rate. With the help of a good lender and a knowledgeable realtor, buyers can find a home that fits their lifestyle while still staying in a comfortable range, not just necessarily what they're approved for. Because sometimes you can be approved for more than you really can afford because they take your overall gross income. So you want to stay within that comfortable bubble. Buyers who are moving forward now aren't ignoring interest rates, they're just being strategic. Buying a home doesn't require perfect timing, it just requires the right plan. And for many Utah buyers, that plan still makes sense right now. My name is Tammy Griffith. I'm with Premier Utah Real Estate, and my team is here to help you navigate the Utah market and make the right plan for you. We hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.